We're here in Mesa Verde National Park about to do the balcony house tour. Now, this is a very popular tour and the Park Service describes it as adventurous. So if you're trying to decide if this tour is for you or not, there will be some helpful information at the end of the video that can aid in that decision. I've really been looking forward to this, so let's go see what it's like.
We were out of the bathroom. I walked down the road a little bit to take that picture.
Awesome. Thank you, folks. Hello. Oh yeah. But before going down to Balcony House, I need to give a little safety talk just to make sure that everyone here knows what they're getting themselves into for today. So with that being said, this whole trail is about half a mile long, so not a long trail whatsoever. It's just the ups, the downs, the crawlings, and the ducking that can be hard for some folks. There are going to be some metal steps going down below. They go quite a ways, just be aware of that and just kind of watch out where you're touching. They may be a little warm, but not quite too much right now at 2:30 in October, so nothing quite too crazy. We'll keep going down the rest of the way. Once we keep walking, we'll get to the base of that big 32-foot tall ladder down there. That big 32-foot tall ladder is cemented into the ground, so it's not going to move or anything on people, but it is made out of wood, so if you are scared of heights, that may be hard for some folks. But you'll be going up that big tall ladder, going through an original doorway carved out with a really narrow passageway. You'll keep going through that. You'll go into that northern courtyard area. In that northern courtyard area, not quite too much to worry about for the most part. Just kind of a narrow passageway again that you'll be going through in that little area. Just be sure to watch out for your heads. It is low and it is dark, so just be aware of that. You'll keep on going through, go into that kiva courtyard area. In the kiva courtyard area, that retaining wall doesn't quite go up high enough, so it's actually like a sheer drop off into the cliff. So just be aware of that, as well as those kivas in there are quite deep, so just kind of watch out for your footing in that little setting there. Once you keep going past that, you'll be going through that original tunnel over there. It's about 18 inches wide, about 26 inches tall, so pretty small. You'll be crawling through it. It's about 12 feet in length. However, you will not be having to crawl the entire 12 feet length. There is a break in the middle where you can stand up, kind of catch your breath, and keep walking a little bit further, and then go back to crawling. So only the beginning and the end of the tunnel that you'll have to actually crawl through. Once you go through that, there'll be two other ladders that are pretty tall. One's about 15 and the other's about 20 feet tall. You'll be going up those, as well as some steps actually carved into the cliff itself. About 20 feet up, you'll be using some chains to help actually pull yourself out. And after that, you'll be back at the parking lot and get going on your way. In the park alone, the boundaries we set forth in the park. There's about 5,000 archaeological sites in total. About 603 of them are going to be cliff dwelling sites like this one that we're going to go into. But majority of the time people live up here on top. About 600 years people live up here on top, and then kind of at the very end, the last century, do people actually move into the cliff sides. So relatively recent is Balcony House in the greater scheme of things here. The one thing I want people to remember though, is that the people that lived here, the ancestral Pueblo people, are still around this very day. They're not ancestral, they're modern day Pueblo people. About 75,000 of them alive to this very day. About 21 different distinct Pueblo groups. 55 plus villages amongst them all. About 6 languages being spoken amongst them as well. And myself, I come from 2 of these pueblos. I come from Picaris and Oquewingue, located in northern New Mexico, right in between Taos and Santa Fe. Right in the middle, that's where my pueblos come from, in that little area there. So I'm very honored to talk to you folks about our time spent here in the Four Corners region. And you know, like I said, 6 distinct languages being spoken amongst them all. That's going to be Tiwa, Tewa, Toa, Hopi, Keres, and Zuni. I speak 2 of them fluently. I speak Tiwa and I speak Tewa fluently. And so before actually starting talking about Balcony House, I like to talk in the language first. For you folks to kind of hear a little bit of it, but also in our ways as Pueblo people, you know, these are homes, these are communities that we're going to go into. People lived there 800 years ago. So to show them the most respect we possibly can, we introduce ourselves before entering into their homes. So I always like to do that first. So with that being said, so thank you folks for letting me do that real quickly. Pretty much what I did was introduce myself again, but I also told you that I'm very thankful for everybody being here today. And you know, we're all going to go visit Balcony House here in a little bit. So let's get started. So balcony house, like I said, is relatively recent in construction and relatively pretty much the last chapter of life here in this region. Like I said, 1190 is when people move into these areas, and migration happens about 1280. So only about a century do people live in this area. That's pretty much only 3 to 4 generations of people. That's about it. But 600 years prior, everybody lives up here on top. So So here we are at the Sea Springs. So when you look at a canyon like Stowe Canyon here, you're expecting there to be a creek at the bottom. There is no creek at the bottom of any of these canyons found here in the park. So what they're relying on instead are these springs found here naturally in the rock. There's about 2,000 of them found in the park, and you know, no bigger than a puddle of water. But this is what people would rely on for their source of drinking water here in the park.
Yeah.
Want that side?
Isn't it really cool? Yeah.
Somebody lost
Oh
the
no!
strap.
What was it?
It was a strap that fell. Some kind of backpack strap. No big deal. It's right below the ladder on the ground down there.
Yeah.
Somebody climb and get it?
Let's see. Where's it at?
It's directly below the ladder.
Okay. If you want to get it, feel free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's got it for you.
She's got it, yeah. She'll bring it up here in a bit.
How was that?
Sage, we're gonna have to move along the side a little bit. Awesome, and then when you folks are ready, feel free to go right through that crack right over there. It was the guy with the parking ticket.
This is not. So this side was
Awesome,
opened
good
up
job.
by
Thank you.
people now with a ladder. The other side is the original.
Awesome, good job.
And the ladder drove in.
Little here's the glass.
My uncle built his house back then. He lived in for years. Without this day. Really cool stuff, yeah. Oh, there. You can feel it. I just feel it. I have a number of tours here, but
Oh, yes, I know.
It's not good lighting that way.
You can do it that way. Whatever looks best.
Alrighty, well here we are in Balcony House. We're in the northern courtyard area. And a lot's happening here in this space. The people who lived here were not merely just farmers and builders. They were a lot more than that. They were artists, they're medicine, they're travelers, they're merchants, they're all these really, really important things. And here at Balcony House kind of tells that story a little bit. So here, about 38 rooms and 2 kivas is what makes up Balcony House here. So a lot smaller than Cliff Palace on the other side, with 150 rooms and 23 kivas, a lot smaller, but still really, really important. And in terms of population, we see that 2 families would have been living here. So roughly the same size as our group here today. Yeah, our group here today. So pretty big, about 50-ish people, 45 people would have been living in this space right here. And in this northern courtyard area, this area would be kind of seen as a living facility right here. And so most of the residential areas takes place on this side of that wall. And so all the rooms here, each individual room will be seen as a home. So definitely the relationship with space was a lot different back then with ours today. Textiles like blankets and clothing. So kind of like a down comfort that we have at home today in that same similar manner. But that room I pointed out for turkeys because that room shows evidence of being a human race. So turkeys were housed in this space too. And a 4x4 blanket, not that big, 4x4. It takes about 17,000 to take that one. But definitely not one piece in North America. But the reason why we call it cedar is because it looks like it. Also, it has a lot of similar characteristics. The cedar wood and juniper are rock resistant. Insects really well.
So one of the big trouble with dolphins was
I didn't think that was.
Go on. Go on.
Cool, any questions from folks before the rest of the group kind of gets here? So that's really cool that you have that picture there on that wall, but another really cool thing is if you look into room 24, right here, you'll see some decorative plaster on the inside. You'll see a red fan below, a white fan on top, and some triangles actually pointing up right next to them there. And if you look directly across, right before you guys, one of the people that got on there, his name was Brian. He was a member of he was an archaeologist that came here back in the early 80s. And he was part of like the astronomy people who were trying to figure out if there were any alignments here. And what we found was that in this room, which I thought was fascinating because I didn't know anything about that either. I knew more about the palace, not really about here. Alrighty, so here we are at the Kiva Plaza. And so the reason that we say that 2 families would have been living here is because there's 2 kivas. Each family group or clan would have their own separate kiva. And the kivas would have been seen as a gathering space. Whether it be for political, ceremonial, or social reasons, it's a gathering space. And so imagine your church your courtroom, and your living room all wrapped into one building, and you get a kiva like this here. So ceremonies take place in these structures, rituals happen here, and some of the rituals that happen in these kivas still takes place just down south of us in the Modern Puebloan. The best guess possibly could be for that drying purposes. Other things could be for hanging looms from to weave textiles. Come on.
Oh, they got automatic box. That's smart. So not too long, yeah. So towards the end, my end is over in the middle of November.
You think you'll be doing it again next month?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love it. It's really
It's worth it though. It's a nice view.
Oh yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have not done that.
Jordan, were these steps original?
No, so they're using hand and tool holds. These were carved in back in the 30s, so they're hand and tool holds are more off towards the south here. But they're pretty much just grooves carved into the rock, so they're pretty much like rock climbing in and out every day. Yeah. Cool, alrighty.
If I can get that leg out.
Alrighty, yeah. Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Yeah. Yeah, I'm right here.
about it?
The altitude was a little issue on those ladders, but I'm glad we did it. It was beautiful.
Okay, so I've just completed the balcony house tour. Some thoughts. First of all, it's a great tour. It is easily my most favorite thing that I've ever done here in this park. So if you're trying to decide if this is for you or not, I'll go ahead and tell you about myself. I'm in my early 60s, good health. I'm active, but I'm by no means an athlete, and I didn't have any trouble anywhere. I got a little winded coming up the ladders, I think because of the elevation. We're over 6,000 feet here. I live at about 200 feet in Alabama, so the elevation is quite different than what I'm used to. But if you want to see a little bit about what this lot is like, if you go to the visitor center, they actually have a replica ladder that you can see and even climb on, and they have a replica of the tunnel that you have to crawl through. So you can see if that'll work out for you before you come on the tour. So if you like this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and if you appreciate this type of content, you might consider subscribing. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon in another video.